Hey folks, it's Joe here, dietitian, and today I'm going to talk to you about hormones, specifically stress and how that influences our health and it can cause digestive symptoms. It can lead to weight gain as well through lots of direct and indirect mechanisms that I want to talk about, and sleep hygiene as well. Because obviously I talk a lot about nutrition, but one of the pillars of health is sleep, and people don't prioritize it well and don't do it properly. So I'm going to do a little presentation because I've actually have so much content. If you've been following me for a while, like I've been online and doing this stuff since 2015. I have so much stuff, and I thought, you know what, I want to share this with you guys, some people who are interested, because we have so much time at the moment, and people are like, it was a real wake up for me. Like yesterday, I spent 15 minutes watching a video on Facebook of a bird whose head was stuck in the front of a car, a hawk, I think it was. His head was stuck. Has anyone seen that video? And then anyway, happy ending, like he was fine. I think he flew away. And I was like, what the hell am I doing? I just watched that that was 15 minutes of my life. I watched this bird being stuck. So I want to make some more useful content where, I want people to be able to look back on this quarantine time and be like, that was useful. I learned some things, or, I tried to work on some goals or habits that I have. So I'm going to share with you, we'll go through with you this presentation I have that's in my members area for clients that we work with one-to-one. And it's called Stress and Sleep Hygiene. And I've got this fancy tool here where I can share my screen and stuff. So if depending on where you're watching this, I'm actually streaming to like all these different places. It's pretty cool. Can you please, if you're in a group, just quickly, just want to do some quick housekeeping. If you're in a Facebook group watching this, you can't comment unless you click the link to give permission to StreamYard. Otherwise, I'm not going to see your comments or something like that. If you're on my page, please comment, say hello. I'll be able to read your comments if you're watching on my Diet versus Ease page. And if you get questions as they come up, let me know. And if I get a chance, I'll get to those. And on YouTube, I think you can comment as well. I haven't actually used it before. So I can see Julie O'Hare in the UK. How are you, Julie? I can see your comment. I think you must be on my page. It doesn't actually tell me. But cool. I'm always in the UK. My granddad lives in Wales. Unfortunately, I can't visit him now, obviously. But I'm going to get over there as soon as I can because I'm in Stockholm. So, hi Belinda, thanks guys. Say hello if you're joining me. Where you're from, that's always fun. But look, let's not kick around anymore. Let me figure out how to share my my screen, and let's just jump into it. So, if you guys can see this, if I just go to presenter view, it's going to let me grab some stuff. Does this work? Can you guys see a presentation? I should now be on the side. And let's jump in. Belinda. Cool, Belinda. I'm from Sydney originally. Yeah, if you don't see any slides, or just let me know either way, because I haven't really done this. I've done it once. I don't know if it worked properly, but hopefully you guys can see my screen. So I've got some notes here that I'll use as well. It's probably been a year and a half since I actually made this, so I'm just kind of dusting it off. But who here identifies that stress is a problem or directly or indirectly affects your health? Just put a yes in the comments if you would identify stress is actually a pretty big issue for me, and it's affecting my health. Because stress can present in the body in different ways. For example, if you hold it up here, and I sound a little fluffy and woo, I promise this is evidence-based. If you hold it up here, you can you get high blood pressure. You can start to get heart issues, for example. But people who hold their stress lower down in the gastrointestinal tract will, we've seen get more digestive issues. It's super fascinating. And of course, we can measure stress. One of the ways is cortisol. And then I'm talking about sleep hygiene as well, one of the pillars of health. So there's kind of like nutrition, there's exercise, and there's, of course, sleep. And people don't talk about it a lot. So let's jump into it. So what I'm covering, cortisol, the stress hormone, getting some headspace, and we're talking a little bit about mindfulness meditation and things you could try there. Optimizing sleep hygiene, a stress-free zone. I'm pretty sure that was for I don't think we'll have to go over that. There's more for people who are working with me one-on-one in the client group. And then preparing for the good and the bad. So a bit of background, right? Our bodies, they're hardwired to respond to stress. And it's been that way since like the dawn of our existence, right? Because in the event our ancestors were being chased by an animal or confronted with danger of any type, the stress response mechanism kicks in. It heightens your senses and awareness so that you can respond appropriately, right? These days we call it the fight or flight mechanism, and that's fueled by the stress hormone cortisol. It's a super important mechanism, right? It's still useful to this day in potentially dangerous situations. For example, you find yourself being chased down a dark alley or something. Your body will respond in kind to the danger. So it's useful. The fault in the system is that it can trigger in perceived dangerous situations rather than real ones. And of course, thankfully, in our society today, we're not really, you're not faced one-to-one with that wild bear or something, right? It's more like a lot of the stress and dangers we encounter are perhaps not real. It's how we're kind of perceiving them as dangers. So, for example, the thing is, like, the stress I'm talking about when it was like our ancestors, it's acute, right? It's short term. So it's like, okay, here's the immediate danger. Actions were taken to remove that danger or get away from that danger, and it's over. These days, our stress is what we call chronic, okay? And that means like persistently heightened levels of cortisol, which is thought to increase inflammation in the body, among other things. And this is kind of just a diagram of how it goes from our brain, what we're perceiving, the stress, and how it actually ends up being cortisol and measurable in the blood. So research, it also shows that like here's a problem like for this day and age and kind of why I talk about this topic. High cortisol levels, they increase your appetite, and they also can drive abdominal fat storage. And interestingly, those who already have a large waist tend to produce more cortisol in response to stress. So it becomes like a cycle. Now, with that said, it works the other way. Studies consistently show that those who reduce stress levels, they tend to lose weight. So is it that losing weight caused a reduction in stress levels in the body, or is it the other way around? Either way, it's when you reduce one, the other one follows. Okay. And that's why we want to be thinking about stress management here. If you've got a weight goal, but any kind of health goal, really, and most of us do have a weight loss goal as well. Remember, cortisol is not the enemy, okay? Without it, we wouldn't be here. So, it helps protect our body cells from real stresses too. So stress is the issue, not cortisol, and the key is to attempt to manage it, okay? So how the heck do we reduce stress, right? Obviously, if you can take a few moments to identify like the most stressful things in your life, that's a good place to start. So what you could do is like after this video, it's like get a pen and paper or like open a notepad in your phone or something and make some notes about this. Give 5 or 10 minutes to actually think about like what are the stressful things in your life right now, and just trying to be specific, because step one is identifying those things or being aware of them, because we never take the time to actually do that. And that's kind of step one. You need to be aware of what the issue is before you can go ahead and solve it, right? And a lot of people don't know that. So for example, let's say you want to be specific. Saying that work is stressful, like it's a little bit broad, you want to okay, peel back a layer. Okay, well, why? Is there something particular about your job that's stressful? Is there something in particular after your day-to-day job that causes stress, like somewhere you need to be or something you have to do? Maybe it's some aspects in your relationship at home, your life at home, or just a relationship with someone that causes you that kind of stress unnecessarily. So what are the things that make you stressed or anxious? Write them down. Just free flow, just write them down. Now, can anything be done about those? Can they, that's the next step. Can they be modified in any way to reduce the impact they have on you? Of course. It's not always possible, right? Or not always immediately possible. What if it's your relationship, your partner? Well, it's very simple to say, well, you could just up and leave. It doesn't quite work that way. I get it. But have you even identified that it's your partner or it's something about them? That's step one. Okay, because now when you know that, you can take actions to resolve that. And it doesn't need to be walking out of something. Of course, it's what relationships are about, maybe overcoming that or addressing that issue, right? So just get it down. Whatever it is that's really that you feel stressing you out, because if you reduce the stress, you're going to reduce that cortisol, and that's going to be important for your health across the board. Remember, it's not like cortisol directly is causing inflammation, although we could argue it is, but it's more about indirect consequences. For example, it affects your appetite. Okay, and then there's food decisions you make. And we know the second order consequence of consistently poor food choices, for example, or poor habits, it affects your health down the line, right? Is this making sense to people? Just let me know if this is making sense. Okay, and so what else do I have here? I think, that's an important exercise. I want you to do that first after this. So, of course, stress is not only caused by the situation we find ourselves in, but in the way we react and respond to a situation. This is super important as well, because it brings you some power back, rather than being like, oh, well, it's my job that's stressful and I have to do that job because I need to put food on the table and I can't just walk out and get a different job, Joe, like it doesn't, life doesn't work that easy. No, I get it. But actually stress is also how we react and respond to a situation. What causes stress for someone will not for another. And that's super interesting to me. It's the same like anxiety and feeling depressed, not necessarily depression itself, but feeling sad, feeling low. How we choose to react to those situations actually determines how stressful we perceive it to be. So if you look at things within our control, well, I'll read this quote first. Tony Robbins, whether you like him or not, this one always stuck with me. I don't know why. And he says, trade your expectations for appreciation and the world changes instantly. If you swap your expectations for appreciation, it changes how you perceive the moment. It's obviously it's not always that simple, but a lot of times it is. So the first thing we need to do is improve the capacity we have to take on stress with little to no harm done. It's it's a mindset shift that helps me out a lot. It's helped me with anxiety and stress. Like doing a live video like this, it doesn't come naturally to me. I probably still am, but I used to be terrified of going on video, on camera. If you go to YouTube and search diet versus ease, you can go and watch my first videos from 2015. They're awful. I can't even watch them. It makes me cringe. It makes me anxious just talking about it. But it's I think if you start to use this this kind of mindset, just to observe, like, okay, is this situation actually stressful, or am I just perceiving it as stressful and unnecessarily causing this harm on myself? It reminds me of, there's another quote I read yesterday, Mark Twain. Oh, I'm gonna ruin it. It's really good. It's like something like, I've had a lot of worries in my life. I've been through a lot of worries in my life, most of which never existed, or something like that. I kind of butchered it, but you get what he's saying. Like, he had so many worries and anxiety about things that never actually even existed or happened to him. And so it's just something to think about. So now, did I miss something? No. Oh, okay. So how else can we reduce stress other than, like, okay, shift your perspective and stuff? Is there things we can actually do? Well, yeah, there is. And we can measure that by seeing that, in studies and stuff, this is reducing measurable levels of cortisol in people. So it does work. Exercise is obviously one of those things. It seems to be because it can increase dopamine. Dopamine, yeah, it depends on the exercise you're doing, right? And if you actually enjoy it and feel good afterwards, which is not the dopamine. The dopamine's kind of the anticipation. So there's that. But what I actually want to focus on is mindfulness meditation. So that's one kind of ancient technique, and it's now clinically proven. And you can do it at home, and you can do it for free. And it really appears to help with stress. And so mindfulness meditation, let me quickly clarify, like, meditation, that's the ancient practice of, like, connecting the body and mind to be more self-aware and present. Okay. There's a range of different styles. I'm looking at mindfulness in particular, mindfulness meditation. Most techniques, they did emerge from, like, religious or spiritual contexts, but now, like, it's mostly just practice outside of those traditional settings. So it's not, you don't have to link it to a specific religion or anything like that. We've got good evidence that those who regularly practice mindfulness, it can lower your stress hormone cortisol, and definitely it's associated with. So we know that people who practice regularly have lower levels of cortisol typically. These are kind of observational, so you can't say, well, this caused that 100%, but it's definitely a trend. Now, so how do we describe mindfulness? So it's most commonly defined as, like, paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. Paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment, so not thinking about something that happened yesterday or what you got to make for dinner in the future. It's about thinking about you're focusing on something right now without judgment. And yeah, like I said, so it's the most well studied in health research, and appears especially helpful for stress reduction. Basically, how they think it works is, like, stress, it's associated with decreased activity in the prefrontal cortex of the brain, and now mindfulness allows for conscious thinking in that area, which kind of reverses the pattern of brain activity under stress. That's at least what they theorize, how the mechanism of how it works, because some people really want to know, and I do as well. When you understand the how or the why of something, it becomes more, for me, it becomes easier to implement if I know why I'm doing that. And look, mindfulness meditation, a lot of early evidence that it helps with anxiety and depression. These things are linked. So weight loss, so we're going to be indirectly, right? Gut bacterial imbalances, super interesting. We know the gut-brain axis, and this is another topic I can do. The gut-brain axis, the vagus nerve connecting your brain to your gut. We know that, like, your mindset will literally physically affect your gut. If you think about like when you got nervous, when you had to run a race or do a presentation, you get butterflies in your stomach, right? Or for some of us, unfortunately, when you get really nervous, you've got to, you have to go to the toilet. So that's the vagus nerve firing there. That's your gut-brain axis. So we know mindfulness meditation can help with things related to your gut. And as I've just said, irritable bowel syndrome and related digestive disorders. So, okay, we've established, mindfulness meditation is kind of the way to go. Has anyone tried this app, Headspace? I'm not affiliated with them or anything like that. Has anyone tried Headspace or some other meditation app? Let me know in the comments what it was or how it was for you. I just recommend Headspace because that's what I used. And you can do, I think, 10 days free. So like when you sign up, it's good because now you're kind of committed to 10 days. Okay, you want to try it for free? Well, can you do 10 days in a row? It's like really simple. You can start really short amounts of time, like little as 5 minutes. I definitely recommend at least 10 minutes. If you think you don't have 10 minutes in the day, you're kidding yourself. I've been tracking. So I've got like a planner and stuff. I've been literally tracking every single thing I do for the past, I think, 11 days. Every little thing I do from waking up to go to bed. And I can tell you don't find 15 minutes, you make 15 minutes. You don't find 15 minutes, you make 15 minutes. Because we will always make time for things important to us. Always, always, always. So you need to make 15 minutes to do this each day. And there's nothing to lose. It's free. And we know that it can help. And there's other alternatives to Headspace and Calm. Just look in there. You can look in your App Store or Google Play Store. Okay, so summarize that. How to reduce stress. Mindfulness meditation. Okay, regular exercise. I don't really focus on that a lot. It just has to be neutral or pleasant, right? Obviously, if you don't like the exercise, then you're not going to stick with it anyway. Because humans are really terrible at consistently doing things we hate. So, of course, exercise is going to help. We know it does reduce cortisol as well. Sleep hygiene is the third and arguably most important thing to reduce stress. And that's the second thing I want to talk about today. Like I've been saying from the start, one of the pillars of health. And hey, guys, if you found this useful, please give this a share if you're on the Facebook page. I think if you're watching it in a group, then you can't share it. But you could give it a like or a comment or something, okay? But if you're watching on the page, please give it a share. And then, okay, let's look at sleep hygiene quickly. And we're almost finished, I'm pretty sure. Sleep hygiene. It's a funny term, right? What the heck is sleep hygiene? So it's a set of habits you have around sleep. And for many, sleep doesn't just happen as easily as it does like for a baby or a toddler. For a lot of people, you can't just sit in bed watching your favorite program and, while drinking a cup of coffee and then expect to nod off in the next minute, right? And for some people, not even the next hour. You need to set up your environment to facilitate sleep, good sleep. The reason it's one of the pillars of health is because with insufficient sleep, it's like really disastrous across a range of health markers. And weight gain is one of those as well. So they did one study, 60,000 non-obese nurses for 16 years. Nurses are easy to study because they're coming into the hospital, they can fill in the forms, etc., all the time. And at the end of the study, the nurses who slept 5 or fewer hours per night were 15% more likely to be obese than those who slept at least 7 hours a night. Now, that's an observational study, right? So it kind of just looks at one group and what they do versus another. It doesn't prove cause and effect. But there's also been experimental studies and sleep deprivation studies. And we know that it, at least indirectly, will affect your health. And if we look at weight specifically, because poor sleep changes this hormone balance in your brain, particularly cortisol, but then also ghrelin and leptin, the hunger hormones. And so poor sleep makes you more hungry, essentially. Research indicates 30% of adults in the US sleep fewer than 6 hours most nights. So it's a big portion that don't sleep very much. The fact of the matter is, people who are sleep deprived, they have an increased appetite. So it is actually, it's not like just in your head. It's affecting the hormones that are in charge of those things. So to bring this back full circle, yeah, it's because it's influencing your hormones. Okay, when you don't have adequate sleep, the body makes more ghrelin. Ghrelin, the hunger hormone, makes you hungry. If you feel hungry, it's like humans are just hormones. All our emotions, everything we feel, is your hormones dictating that. Like an emotion, happiness is not like a tangible thing. Is different hormones in your brain firing make you feel happy. So it's the same with hunger. That's ghrelin. Leptin is the suppressing of hunger. So when you're not getting adequate sleep, your ghrelin is really high and your leptin is lowered. So a study of over 1,000 people found those who slept for short durations had 15% higher ghrelin and 15.5% lower leptin. So that's a real thing. This is why shift work is particularly tricky. And even though they pay you more, what's the true cost of long-term shift work? They're not paying you enough. Let me tell you that. Yeah. In addition, stress hormone cortisol is higher when you don't get adequate sleep. Okay, so it's affecting cortisol as well. So, what's some sleep hygiene practices? Don't consume caffeine or other stimulants like decongestants after 3 p.m. Don't drink more than 1 serving of alcohol in the evening. This is a big one. If you think you sleep well when you drink a lot, you don't. When you pass out, you're not in deep sleep. That's why if you pass out for 12 hours, you wake up feeling like shit and you feel like you haven't slept at all and you're tired the next day. You didn't sleep well. Like when they study the brain waves of people who are sleeping when they're drunk, you don't go into like restorative sleep. You just kind of like passed out and your eyes are flickering, but you're not actually in deep sleep. You're just wasting time, basically. So don't drink a lot. Keep a regular sleep schedule. Go to bed and get up at roughly the same time, even on the weekends. That's important, and it's very difficult. This is what I'm saying about shift work and nurses. Like my partner's a nurse. Things a little bit trickier. You got to do the best you can, but just being aware of that. If you nap, I think you can nap. People can nap and still be functional. Not me, but people can. Obviously, don't do it too late in the afternoon, basically. Is this making sense, you guys? Let me know. And so the other ones quickly, and some people are just going to be like, oh, no. You know it's true. You know it's true, and I'm just going to tell you how it is. You got to keep your room really dark. You can use an eye mask to block out light, for example. So darkness is really important. Room temperature should be slightly cooler. Do not use, number 7, do not use your phone, tablet, laptop, TV, or other electronic device at least 30 minutes before bedtime. And I'm being pretty lenient there. And if you're lying in bed watching me right now, like the irony is not lost on me, but the fact is, you shouldn't be staring at the screen before you go to sleep. If you are, you should use the blue light blockers. iPhone has that inbuilt. Probably the Androids do now as well. But you can get third-party softwares on your computer and stuff that block blue light, which is essentially what the body uses to understand if it should be awake or asleep, right? So when we have sunlight coming in, that blue light, it tells us to be awake, but the problem is our devices emit it as well. Number 8, big one. Don't watch TV in bed. You see, you shouldn't have a TV in your room. Who has a TV in their room? I'd love to hear. Let me know in the comments. And like Australians, I think we all do. And I guess it's the same in the US and stuff. We're renting an Airbnb at the moment. There's no TV in the whole house. Like, there's none. It's really refreshing. It's great. And of course, you can watch Netflix and stuff on your laptop if you really want. But TV in the room, it's asking for because now you're changing that sleeping environment you have. That becomes, it's no longer just for sleeping, and that's not good. So what you should do is really get in the habit of reading a book instead. If you struggle to fall asleep, reading a book, even 20, 30 minutes, even if it's boring, you'll probably fall asleep and then it did its job, right? And if you think these recommendations are like too restrictive or crazy, are they? Think about this. All the habits I just spoke about that people are doing, people that you should be doing. For example, dark room, cooler temperatures, no light. We've been these have been part of our normal life for 10, 20, 30, 50,000 years plus, however long humans have been around. And it's only until 50 years ago, and okay, a bit more, 75 to 100 years ago, that we've started doing these kind of bad habits. And so we've got 50,000 years of how we've been doing it before, and now 50 to 100 years of big changes. And the human bodies have not adapted, and we start to pay the price. Did we have caffeine in the evenings? Well, no. Coffee didn't even come out of Africa until a few centuries ago, right? Alcohol? No, of course not. They didn't make alcohol. Sleeping at a regular time? Yeah. When it got dark, you couldn't do as many things, and then you go to sleep shortly after, and you get up at sunrise. So it's dark. Was there TVs? Obviously not, right? No artificial light. Was it cooler at night? Yep. Because if they weren't really living in an insulated house, it gets cooler at night. So hopefully you can kind of see where I'm coming from. These slides are more specific to people who are already in the client group. You don't even need to worry about that, really. Stress. Yeah, we could probably go on this slide. Stress means some good and bad weeks. So stress and its direct influence on cortisol and indirect influence on other hormones means we're going to have good weeks and bad weeks as well, by the way. It happens in all aspects of life. So don't beat yourself up as well with all the stuff I'm saying. If you're like, oh man, I identify with everything saying and I'm the worst. I do all these terrible things, or I'm really bad with stress and stuff. That's fine. There's no right or wrong. It's just start thinking about this stuff. Okay. Just start documenting these things down. Go back to what I said in the beginning about, okay, where's the stress coming from? Just get it documented. Otherwise, you're not going to observe any patterns. How can you see patterns if you don't track anything? You can't finish the puzzle with the pieces all over the place. You don't even have the pieces, essentially. You got to get the pieces first. Then you can put them in the right place. So recap what I've been talking about. Prolonged stress causes high cortisol, okay? And that's closely linked with weight gain, by the way, and lots of other things. I think I made this specifically with weight gain in mind, this presentation. And then likewise, if you reduce cortisol, that's going to help with weight loss as well, whether directly or indirectly, okay? Take time to identify things in your life that raise stress, okay? How can they be addressed? How do you respond to stress? Try the Headspace app or whatever app. I don't even care. But just we have things are easier than ever to do and to try. It's right here in your hands. So try something like that. Commit to something small like that. A 10-day trial. You just got to make 15 minutes in your day. You can make 15 minutes in your day. Good sleep is so vital for weight loss, for health, for stress management. So look at your for digestive issues, by the way. Look at your sleep hygiene. Identify areas you can improve based on the things I just spoke about, right? And don't feel overwhelmed with everything I've said. And in this point, I'm specifically referring to, I have so many lessons like this on different topics. Make changes one step at a time. I think people learn at different speeds as well, and some people would have to watch this over and over again for it to like stick. Or you need to hear something when the time is right, and maybe that's not now, but if you come back and watch this again another time, then the stars might align and you might implement, but don't feel overwhelmed. And there's going to be easy times and tough times. And I've ended it with a quote here. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. I'm thinking about stress in particular here. Life, it's 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react to it. If you think about how someone might react to a situation versus yourself. For me, if I have to do public speaking in front of an audience, like super terrified, like how ridiculous is that? It's not a dangerous situation, but it feels like it. But then someone else will hop up on stage and they love it. Hey, we're doing the exact same thing, but you had an enjoyable experience and I just freaked out. So what's that all about? It's the same situation, right? That's on me, and that's okay. But I need to be able to be aware of that, and then take the steps necessary to work on that and improve that aspect. So, was that useful? Did it give you something to think about? Was it more entertaining than a bird with their head stuck in the front of the car? Probably not. But I hope it's giving you something to think about. That's kind of ultimate goal. Okay, so how do I bring myself back here now? Ooh, here we are. Okay, so here's the fun part. Who's been commenting? Has anyone got any questions about that? If you're commenting like in the group and stuff, I don't think I can see your questions. But if you're commenting on the page, I think I can see you. Just let me try to bring up quickly one of the groups, and I'll just see if this is even streaming in there. So you guys, what's the next steps? Oh yeah, it is working. So next steps is, let me just have a look at some questions. So Belinda's question here. Isn't this cool? I'm sleep deprived from having a 4-month-old. If I have a day sleep, I find it hard to get sleep at night. But how can I ever catch up if I can't day sleep? So Belinda, this is like, it's temporary, right? So I wouldn't get too caught up on that, and like, like you're only got a 4-month-old for 1 month, right? And then I get like, okay, it's going to be that way for a year or two. I think you just do the best you can. Expect different sleep patterns for a little while. Remember what I'm saying here. It's like, hey, how you handle stress and your sleep hygiene. We're looking at like 5 years of habits, 10 years, 20 years, where you've been, you haven't been working on that. This is kind of like a temporary thing. I think you just do your best, and life will go on, because fortunately, hopefully it doesn't stay that way. Or if you have a kid every 2 years or something, well, then you might want to be thinking about more actionable steps. I wouldn't worry about. Well, as Jason said, no TV in the bedroom. Glad I do one of the 8 points. Yeah. Well, and look, one's better than zero. We've not had a TV in our room ever. It's kind of nice, because then you can't, like, all TV being alert that kind of time is like, that's in that room. I just think now we're talking about boundaries. There's a book called Boundaries. I can't remember if I liked it. I just remember that I read it, and it's obviously all talking about setting boundaries in your life, not just like, not physical boundaries, right? But boundaries in your habits, boundaries in relationships, not just your partner, but like working relationships and stuff. Really setting boundaries is super important. It just reminded me of that. I'd been watching it yesterday late night. That's why I couldn't fall asleep. Yeah, well, I'd rather you watch it. Well, hopefully the video was useful for starters. Sometimes I ramble, but hopefully at least it was useful. Good. I think. Hi, Bridget. Bridget is a client. I am feeling well. Thank you for asking. That's why I had enough energy to do some things like this. So, last thing, you guys, if you want to, there's a couple of things. If you want to do something that's kind of like a challenge, my 5-day challenge, I've made it free during like this whole COVID thing. So if you want to register for that, it's essentially, it's more focused on gut health, but it's applicable to everyone really. And you sign up for it and I email you each day with a video and some homework videos and stuff. And you don't need to, there is a shopping list, but you don't need to go and get anything. I made it so that you, like, during this kind of time, you don't have to go anywhere. And it's just like small little habits you can implement each day on top of each other. There's a Facebook group and stuff. Some of you guys watching this are probably already in that group because I'm streaming this video there as well. But that's where you go to register for it. Okay. If you've been stuck with you're medically sure you're not at your health goal and you've just been, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, and some things work, but you end up back where you started, or it's, you know, or it's like a digestive issue and you really got to sort it out. I work one-to-one with people. If you are interested in that, you can comment interested and I will send you a message and explain how that works. And we can see if it's a fit, right? It looks different for everyone. This is why individualization is super important, because like generic stuff, I get that it's like, okay, it's, you know, it's $20 program. It's very, or it seems very convenient. You can buy that there and, I'll just follow this meal plan. But it doesn't work like that, especially if your situation is more complicated or you've just been, you're kind of doing it on your own, or you've just been stuck for a long time and things haven't worked for you. At some point, you need, it's about what you need, right? Not what's just convenient. So when working with us, we really try to individualize it to you and make sure that when we're done, like it's the last time you need to get help in that area, and you should be able to go forward and not have to worry about this particular health aspect anymore. And so that's how it works. If you're interested, comment interested in the comments and I will go through and see if anyone is, and I'll send you a message. Yeah, alternatively, you can go to dietversities.com/free-session, and it's like to book a call with either myself or someone on my team, and we will see if it's a fit for you. And at the very least, you can walk away with like knowing what you need to do, whether you work with us or not. Like that's up to you. You know, fortunately, we're like 140 clients at the moment, so we're good. If it's not a fit, then that's fine. And if it is, well, we look forward to helping you out. Also, at this URL, you can catch some testimonial videos from clients that I, you know, after they're done, I speak with them and, you know, just kind of ask them, well, what did they achieve and why do they think it works? So you can have a look at their stories rather than having to listen to me try to tell you about it. Go and watch some of those. I think I must have at least 30 videos on there now. Yeah, that's all from me. Hope you guys have a good day or evening wherever you are. And I appreciate this. If you think of any topics you want me to do, by the way, that will help me. Leave a comment. Let me know like a future topic, and I can try and talk about that as well. Good one. Okay, thanks, everyone. Speak to you later.